Hello, and thank you for your interest in the Erie Metropolitan Planning Organization 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan. Today we will go through some of the background information on the LRTP and how federal and state requirements help shape the Erie MPO goals and objectives for the plan. We will discuss the public involvement efforts undertaken that help identify key issues across Erie County before going over the project prioritization process, as well as examining the fiscal constraints the plan must be under. Finally, we will go over the various project types that are included in the plan. The Erie Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, is the official organization through which federal transportation funds are distributed, planned, programmed, and implemented in Erie County. The MPO consists of 23 voting members who represent local governments, Erie County Transportation Authorities, and PennDOT. The Erie MPO 2050 LRTP is a locally derived, multimodal transportation plan that determines the planned investments of federal and state dollars on eligible roadways, outlines planned investments in transit and airport projects, among others, and recommends policies across the county. The 2050 LRTP is an update to the 2042 LRTP. Federal mandates require that LRTPs be updated every 5 years to ensure that the plan is consistently meeting changing demands the county is facing. The LRTP must satisfy both federal and state planning factors. The federal planning factors are system preservation, system management, safety and security, personal and freight mobility, mode interconnectivity, economic vitality, environment, reliability and stormwater, and tourism. Erie MPO created its own goals and supporting objectives to meet the federal and state planning factors, while also meeting the specific needs of Erie County. All investments from the projects and policies in the LRTP aim to meet these goals. The Erie MPO goals are to enhance economic vitality, to invest in projects and programs to improve safety and security, to improve multimodal and freight accessibility and mobility, to foster infrastructure and environmental sustainability and equity for all users, to ensure project feasibility, and to ease traffic congestion and improve maintenance in Erie County. A large part of the LRTP update is involving you, the members of the public and project stakeholders, to identify the current needs and issues that Erie County faces. To accomplish this, an extensive public outreach campaign was undertaken. Bearing in mind the impacts of COVID-19, both traditional and web-based avenues were utilized. These outreach efforts included an online survey as well as a paper survey, open houses and roundtables, a wiki map, which allowed users to drop pins on a map and make specific notes, a YouTube video, flyers on buses and advertisements in the Erie Times News, and radio station and social media advertisements. As a result of the outreach efforts, a total of 864 different comments were received. 387 of these comments were received through the Wikimap, while another 477 came in through the online survey. Each of these comments were then mapped to better understand where the needs are throughout Erie County. The comments received covered the entirety of Erie County, from Northeast to Albion and Girard to Corey. Cataloging the public comments was the first step of the project prioritization process, which is outreach and literature review. In addition to the public comments, local municipalities and transportation agencies were also asked for their input. The final portion of this first step included reviewing all of the studies and plans that had been completed across the county since the last update to the plan 5 years ago. Step 2 then took all of that information to identify concerns and potential projects that could make their way into the LRTP. Next, Step 3 required that those concerns and potential projects be sorted into groups of similar project types. These project types include highway projects, pedestrian and bicycle projects, bridge projects, betterment projects, local projects, studies, and policies. The fourth and final step is to evaluate the projects via the project prioritization process. This process essentially asked how well each project met Erie MPO's goals and objectives. This resulted in a ranked list of projects, with the highest ranked project being the one that most closely met the goals and objectives. In an ideal world, all of the projects in the LRTP would be fully funded and implemented. The reality is, however, that funding across the state and country is limited. Therefore, the projects in the LRTP must be fiscally constrained. Fiscal constraint specifies that projects included in the adopted plan can only use sources of federal and state funding that are assumed to be available over the life of the plan. In order for a project to be considered as part of the plan, it must be able to be fully funded. This aspect of the plan includes the projects on the highway and pedestrian and bicycle project lists. The first funding scenario that was developed is based on the current forecasted funding over the life of the plan. The current funding forecasts are bleak, as both state and federal funds have decreased significantly from the previous plan. 5 years ago, the plan was provided with a total lifetime budget of more than $98 million. The current plan is set to receive a little more than $52 million, which is a reduction of 46% from the previous plan. In December 2021, it was announced that the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or IIJA, would pass Congress and be implemented, which would provide additional funding for the LRTP. As such, a second funding scenario was developed, known as the IIJA scenario. This scenario provided an additional $15 million, bringing the total available funding up to nearly $68 million. While this is certainly an improvement from the current scenario, it is still a 31% reduction from the previous plan. As discussed previously, there are several project types that are in the LRTP. Some are specifically able to be funded by the LRTP using the fiscal constraint that was just discussed, and some are funded through other means. The projects that are directly funded by the LRTP are highway projects as the first project type, which are projects affecting automobile and freight travel that are well developed. These projects aim to improve accessibility, mobility, safety, congestion, and aesthetics. These projects were included in the fiscal constraint and project prioritization process. Pedestrian and bicycle projects are the second project type, which are projects affecting pedestrian and bicyclist travel that are well developed. These projects aim to address accessibility, mobility, safety, equity, recreation, and improve health and expand tourism. These projects were also included in the fiscal constraint and project prioritization process. Betterments are the third project type, whose purpose is to identify critical gaps in pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, as well as roadway maintenance, so that upgrades can be considered during routine roadway improvement or maintenance projects along identified routes. These projects are not included in fiscal constraint, as they would be accomplished using local funding or during scheduled maintenance if possible. Studies are the fourth project type, which are recommended when groups of comments focus on a particular area, but there is insufficient information currently available to develop a specific project to address the area's needs. These projects are not included in fiscal constraint, as they would be funded using local, county, statewide planning, or other federal funding sources. Local projects are the fifth project type, which are projects similar to the highway projects that should be locally focused and developed. These projects were mapped and included in the plan so that they can be incorporated into future municipal planning and project development efforts. These projects are not included in fiscal constraint, as they would be accomplished using local funding. Policies are the sixth and final project type, which are statements that can encompass recommendations such as land use changes, municipal coordination, and improved procedures. The remaining categories of projects are those which will receive funding through other means, not the LRTP. These projects are Highway/Other projects, which is a list of highway projects on PennDOT's current Transportation Improvement Plan, also known as the TIP, 12-year plan, and post-12-year plan with cost estimates already developed. District Bridge projects, which is a list of state bridges for rehabilitation on PennDOT's current TIP, 12-year plan, and post-12-year plan with cost estimates already developed. Local bridge projects, which is a list of local bridges over 20 feet in need of repair, rehabilitation, and preservation that has been prioritized by the MPO for funding with the $5 local use fee. Transit projects, which is a list of planned transit projects from the Erie Metropolitan Transit Authority. And aviation projects, which is a list of planned aviation projects from the PennDOT Bureau of Aviation, as well as from the Erie International Airport. Thank you for your interest in the Erie MPO 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan. An online survey is available for you to record comments on the LRTP. This survey can be accessed at www.surveymonkey.com/r/ErieLRTP or by using the QR code below. If you would prefer a paper survey, please contact the project team by email at ealoiz@eriecountypa.gov or by calling 814-451-7325. We appreciate your time and look forward to hearing from you.